How is everybody in beautiful TV land? That beautiful place. Well, not TV land. It's actually. Oops. There we go. Got to mute that. Hello, Jiggy Pardo Lord. Congratulations on becoming an elder and an empath. Class has already started, but of course you can still get credit if you want to. No problem. As long as you look at the old work, that's absolutely fine. We teach heart centered remote viewing for those of you who are new on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on YouTube. If you are a member at the Elders and Empaths level, then the videos appear to you in the members section of my channel. But you should get, if you are subscribed with notifications, then you should get a notification. And I usually try to put the class notes up a couple of hours before class starts with the syllabus and everything. Hi, Chris Crowdis. Great to see you. Hi, Nancy, the water chick. Joel Tilson is in the house. Thank you so much, Joel. Joel is the kind of our floor director. He'll be walking the floor today with the mic, so to speak, making sure that everybody's questions get answered. Hello, Little Sense. Geocosmic Valentine, congratulations to her. We'll be working very closely this quarter as she begins to log her hours. God, I feel a little intimidated by you, Geocosmic. You're headed towards mastery in HCRV. You're getting teaching certified. I feel like my baby is being born. Oh my God. Does this make me old or I don't know? So congratulations, Geocosmic. If you take a look at my syllabus and the lecture notes and you bring them together, that's going to help you develop your manual. Manuals are all based on the syllabus. Hi, Diane T. Hi, Kelbo. Good to see you. All right. So without further ado, I thought we would do the empath's prayer. Would everybody like to hear that? I've decided, per people's request, to do the empath's prayer at the beginning of shows just to create a nice vibe. We can talk about everything that you all have wanted to talk to me about. Hunter Biden, of course. I guess he was indicted or found guilty. He was indicted on 3 counts. He was already charged, and then I can't remember. We'll talk about the Hunter Biden. We'll talk about the new alien announcement of aliens in Mexico. There's an update on that. I try to keep you all happy. I give you a little bit of aliens, regular news. You're a greedy bunch. You like to have a little bit of everything. All right, let's do the empath's prayer, shall we? Indicted on 3 counts. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's bring it together. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys, to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. Well, what do you guys want to talk about first? I mean, are aliens real? Do you guys want to talk about that? Or do you want to talk about Hunter Biden? We could certainly blitz on it. What's going to happen? I did not follow the case. And so I don't want to have like a standard politically correct, well, they're only doing it because he's the president's son. no man is above the law. And well, he had a hard childhood, but every guy or gal in prison has a story to tell, right? I don't personally even believe in prisons. Yeah, we have to incarcerate and remove people from the general population. Um, but I don't think prisons do much of anything. So, yeah, it doesn't rehabilitate. It doesn't help trauma. It recreates trauma in already traumatized people. Um, many of the people in prison are addicted to drugs, child abuse survivors. They don't need people terrorized. They don't need more toxic, aggressive, whatever. Okay, so as you guys know, there was a press conference, Mexican Congress, that they had found two life forms that they're claiming are aliens. And what we know about the DNA, it appears to be authentic. What we know about the DNA is that it's not from the Homo group. If you look up here on this high area of Homo group, which is what I had thought we were maybe looking at Homo habilis, perhaps we are with the grays or some other species that may have been hybrid, but that's not the case here, because if it had been from this line, we would have had 5 fingers, because the 5 fingers is very old in the genome. If you go back even further down in the genome, back 6 million, 7 million, 10 million, 15, 20 million, you're still seeing five digits in early life forms. So what they're saying is, if the genetics are only 30% related to humans, that doesn't mean that it came from another planet. It means that it's much further divided from the human. It's not a homoglocus. The 3 fingers rule out any possibility that it's in this chain. No, this is something entirely different. No, it's not the same as 6-digit, which is a mutation. The 3-digit is not even a mutation found in the genome. So this is something so the split happens much, 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 much earlier. So they're talking about like fish DNA. They're talking about some early species that may have, walked, originally gone on to land, and after it goes on to land, it evolves into a bipedal animal that's approximately 3 feet tall and is cloaking. Now, here are the assumptions up to this point that we need to stop and take a pause as scientists, as anthropologists, as just people. Most of you are teachers. Many of you are friends of mine. So we'll talk about this as educators. We're smart cookies, right? Don't assume they come from, just because the science that we are seeing from this group, why are we assuming they come from Alpha Centauri or somewhere else? There are a lot of things we should not assume. One thing we're learning from the DNA is they're not homo. They're not hominids. This is a species that probably evolved a very long time ago from the mud and the plankton, and these bodies are retrieved, ironically enough, out of the plankton. But what they're saying is, if it's that ancient, if there's that much of a division, we're talking about so far deep into the tree, we're talking maybe 20 million, 50 million. We're talking millions and millions of years ago when this division takes place. And these early reptiles and these early creatures begin, as the water dries up, they mutations where hands and fins could evolve into digits, right? So this one species, for whatever reason, seems to be evolving 3 digits. That's what the hypothesis is. If this is true, and it's looking like the evidence is suggesting that from the analysis it is true, but it's not a hominid. This is way too ancient, because if it You have to look at early shrews, right? If you look at the early tree animals that were climbing up to get away from predation, those were like early shrews. Those were like mice. Our most ancient common ancestor, like what is today the mouse, they were scurrying about, still 5 fingers, still 5 digits, right? That's like from 20 million. So you go way, way back, you're seeing 5 digit, 5 digit, 5 digits. So what the scientists are saying, and when they're seeing almost no genetic, they're seeing some mutational difference comparison, but it appears to be very, very ancient. So all I can tell you, if it's not a hoax, based on the science as I heard it, I am an anthropologist, I am a doctor, so but I'm not, I didn't see everything. But what I can tell you from what I heard is that they're saying that this is a very ancient split. So that's the first thing we have to wrap our heads around. Okay, so we have found this creature that appears to have come out of the deep, dark, muddy, mucky, whatever, possibly some prehistoric fish turned reptile turned bipedal that goes off and does its own thing. Right? That's where we can go theoretically with what we know of the genetics. Not Homoglockus, all right? This is not a hominid. So that's interesting, because then we start to have conversations about reptilians. Well, is that what we're talking about? An ancient line that's way back to reptiles evolving into bipedals? Yes, possibly that's what they're talking about. They're talking about something that ancient. But even if you look at some reptiles, you're seeing again 5 digits. So this is why scientists are saying, well, just how damn old is this? And the other thing that we assume, and this is something that we have to give ourselves pause as scientists, why do we assume that we are the most evolved? Why do we assume that we have a anthropological bias? In the sense that we as anthropologists understand our biases. We as scientists, would you agree? We know we have biases, right? So we have to, as scientists, as intellectuals, which I know you all to be, we have to look at the bias here. For example, we see the tree going higher and higher and higher until eventually it becomes the most evolved and the most intellectual and the highest and the best. And I'm the best, and I'm the smartest of all, right? That's what we're saying when we see at the top of the mountain comes humans. Well, what if we're wrong? What if there were other life forms that were living alongside of us, cloaking in order to avoid predation, and because they solved the predation problem, they were able to free themselves up to be philosophers, whereas we didn't do that. If you look at the genome of Homo sapien and where we come from, our earliest cousins, etc., that share a common ancestor, the missing link, blah blah blah, they went out and they faced the music. And what happened? We had to develop, we spent all of our time learning how to kill. Oh, yes, we did. If you look at what evolves into Homo, it starts with tool technology until you have Homo erectus, who has the Acheulean tool technology, which is the most advanced capacity to kill. And so we go directly out in, we don't cloak, and we confront the monster directly, and we start killing things, which leads to our technology and our sciences being predominantly based on eat or be eaten. And that is pretty much where we stay for several million years. Eat or be eaten. You're going to take the spear or put it in a microwave, right? So the science is all about eat or be eaten. The weapons technology, right? It goes from being a rock that, and a stick that you're sharpening to atomic bombs, etc. But what if you could avoid all of that? What if you could simply cloak? What if you were a small little 3 foot tall, evolving little something hiding in the mud that decided that you could happily live on a low protein diet of plankton and strawberries. And you just disappeared with your books and your sciences, and everything was going along fine, but you began to notice that these crazy wackos up here, these Homo sapiens, which are the most violent creatures on the planet and are delusional enough to think they're the highest on the planet, they're making trouble. So you've now got to come out of your cave, come out of hiding, and share all your science that you have developed right here on Earth, including breaking time, space, travel, etc. All happened right here in this world. That is the theory. That they do not come from Pleiades. They come from here, and they simply evolved more rapidly because they were not focused on all of this tool technology, like the Acheulean tool technology that Homo erectus develops, Heidelbergalis. Even the brain begins to change as they eat more and more meat, as they consume more and more. This was also cooking. We began to cook food, which allowed us to be able to eat more roots. So starch actually played a huge part. Eating, we were able to consume massive amounts of calories, whereas the smaller creatures we're seeing that came out of the findings in the plankton in Mexico, they would have required a lot less food, right? Because they are only 3 feet tall. They also don't appear to be very muscular, so they're on a low protein diet. There's plenty of protein in algae, plankton, spirulina anyway, right? We also make fuel from it now, right? Biofuels. So there are jokes going around that aliens have been stealing fruit. I wanted to show people the film footage, but somebody took it down. There's been 3 or 4 cases of people reporting that their fruit has been stolen by aliens. So there are different arguments about what's going on. Are they able to convert it into a biofuel, right? Because sugar is carbon chain, right? So are they able to create some kind of fuel source? Is that why there was a woman, for example, she was by her garden, I think it was a watermelon field. It's always the same pattern. Fruit, right? High in sugar and red, right? This is a recent story that came out, right? So she is by her garden and there's an alien. She pretends she doesn't see him. The guy was stealing her watermelons, right? So she sits down and she pretends like she's looking at the phone and she doesn't look back at her garden. And then she doesn't tell anybody. And eventually she comes out and says that she's had this experience. So that makes sense to me also as an anthropologist, because if you had something that was cloaking, that was avoiding violence, that was avoiding predation, that was putting all their time and energy into study, sciences, tool technology was going towards, building rockets and going to distant planets, entering other dimensions, right? That's where they're headed. And we just assumed we were the smartest because we put all of our brains into killing things and dominating and controlling things. And what this experience should take away is, do not assume we've discovered every creature on Earth because of cloaking. Cloaking is a great way to keep yourself from getting eaten. And the other thing we can't assume is that we're the smartest, or even at this point that we have, and this is the thing that's sobering for us, the most advanced in terms of tool technology. But what's tripping the scientist up, I can tell you, as an anthropologist, is it's the 3 digits. If it was 5 digits, it would fit the stereotype that scientists have that the most evolved is hominids. The fact that it's not a hominid is what people are struggling with. Does that make sense to you guys? I mean, that's my opinion, but you guys can share your opinion. Yeah, do you guys know the story? And I've seen that alien before. It's a different species. It's the one that's really tall with the big ears that come off the sides. And if you go to Slapped Ham, you can see him waving the cars away. That alien, the big tall one with the big ears, that was the one that the woman saw stealing the watermelon when that came out recently. If she gave her testimony when she was sat by her phone pretending, she said he went back into his spacecraft and left. So the other thing is that it's electrolytes, it's glucose, like it's sugar, it's electrolytes, and it's filled with bioflavonoids, beta carotene, which gives it certain types of beta carotenes that protect from radiation, which give it the red coloring. So we keep hearing this anecdotal stories. Hey, this sounds crazy, but the guy took my watermelons. Or this sounds crazy, they cleaned out my strawberries. This sounds crazy, but all of my cherries are gone, which is what happened to Boone Dragon. She's like, this is crazy. She's one of the people here. There's an alien spacecraft. I had a full thing of cherries. They took all my cherries, right? So it sounds wacky, but just put it in the back burner. Is this weird, bizarre thing people talking about information about this community? It would certainly make sense, right? Because you think about fruit bats, right? Fruit bats, low protein diet, hiding in the caves, drinking water, living on simple things, living on fruit, bad eyesight, right? The goggles, right? Like they can't see in the daytime. You'll often see they have these types of goggles shining, like the film footage we had out of Nevada, like they were not accustomed to the light or something. They often go out at night, right? Special goggles, almost as if they're having trouble. So those are all things you have to put in the back burner and go, okay, are we talking about, again, some creatures that are evolving right here, or is it a combination of both? So that's a wonderful conversation to have, and I think it's really exciting for scientists and people to have these kinds of creative discussions and say, yeah, this is within the realm of science, and we can get excited about it and talk about it from a scientific perspective. I think it's great. All right, so now I'm going to share my drink. This is a vegan soy chai. And what I did is I also made some cold brew sencha tea. I put ice on top of the sencha leaves, and that will preserve the antioxidants in the green tea. There's a little bit of information for those of you who are part of my mystery school. They study medicine in our class. So what you'll do is you'll take the leaves and any kind of medicine you want to do, if you want to preserve the antioxidants, and you just put the ice on top of it. And then you can put it in the refrigerator if you want it to be extracted slowly, and then it gets pulled out by the ice without destroying any of the antioxidants. So so I did 50% of the ice brew green sencha for the antioxidants, and then some of the soy tea. Did NASA just deny it? I heard their conference, and they didn't say they denied it. They said that they were frustrated that people were not sharing more of their science. That was what I heard, but I didn't hear them say they denied it. I think the results came out of a tech in Mexico. They did do DNA sample on it because the person was there from the Mexican, from a well-respected lab that had done the DNA. It's the three, I'm telling you, it's the 3 digits that's freaky. That more than anything. We all thought they were going to be hominid. That's the bigger thing that people are struggling with. You mean they're not us? But we're the best. They would have to evolve from us. We're superior. They can't have evolved completely independent of us. I mean, that's where my head went, which just goes to show I'm as biased as everybody else, right? But that's what they're saying. They say, no, they are independent, very ancient connection. 30% DNA doesn't mean they come from another planet. It means that it's a very ancient connection. like barely amoeba. I mean, it's not good, right? It's like, whoa, you guys went off and did your own thing and didn't leave much of a fingerprint behind. Yeah. Well, do you guys want to do some blitzes? Uh, it's such a fascinating it's such a fascinating thing to talk about, and it's also exciting. If it is a hoax, I can tell you it's because of the digits. It's because no way did something evolve separately with three digits. That is no way. Thank you, Geocosmic. Okay, so I got to talk about this. Thanks, Joel. Boy, talk about the bearer of bad news. Do you guys remember on Sunday when I said I hate this crap? And I had to tell you guys that they were going to hit the naval shipyards? So somebody had said, I found myself in the middle of a frustrating conversation with somebody that believed that remote viewers could see the future and was arguing with me. Yes, you can see the future. You can see the future. And I'm saying, no, you can't see the future. And this was an example that was used, was me saying, within 72 hours, expect a hit on the naval base. Oh, you can't see the future. You can't see. Those are the kinds of arguments where I feel like you're going around in a circle and around in a circle. No, again, we don't. What we see is the plans that were in place that they knew they were going to implement in 72 hours. And it was so solid, the plan that I found that I reported on it as a remote viewer. I felt it was unlikely that they were going to back down. That's not the same as me seeing the future. You guys see the difference? You guys know the difference, right? So I just want to be clear. I'm not claiming I see the future, because I believe people have free choice, and that's not where I'm coming from, and that's not what we teach. But when you are a remote viewer and your job is to go and find documents or access information, and I'm standing back and I'm standing from the place of British military, or I'm asked to go in and look at from perspective of Ukrainian military, and I find that plan in place in 72 hours, I am going to go. And the only reason I saw it is because I had permission to tell you. It didn't change anything, right? They still went through with the mission. How many people died, right? How many people were wounded, right? And what I said on Sunday, and what I'll say again today, is that it falls squarely on the shoulders of Putin that those people died. It's entirely his fault. We could stand back 72 hours beforehand and say, you 20 men will be dead in 72 hours. And yet, even though they probably knew it was coming, even though they probably had, don't they have their own people, right? So if I knew, I'm sure somebody from their end must have known, right? So for no reason, those men are coming home in body bags, and they're just serving their time for their country. I mean, they may not even want to be there. So in the end, I felt as the remote viewer that everything is Putin's fault, because he chose to keep them there. Okay. Scientists in museums. Oh, I don't know anything about that, Rose Blue. I'd like to see the article. I think they were shipped, Joel. The Ukrainians, the F-16s were shipped. Oh, hi, Finnegal. Welcome to Fairies and Angels. Are you a fairy or an angel? Um, excuse me. Rose Blue wants to know, could the aliens be from an ancient civilization? Possibly, but the problem is it's a civilization not of human beings, or even creatures that are they are they're so distantly related to us. We're talking about possibly tens of millions of years that seem to have surpassed us in the sciences. That seems to be what the evidence suggests. How's that for a blow to our egos? Because we spend all our time learning how to kill rather than learning how to enter into other dimensions and other worlds. And we were learning how to kill each other. And that's a huge waste of intellectual resources, and terrible for the environment, and not good for the for the intellectual advancement of society. If we had cloaked and simply avoided conflict and focused instead on the higher sciences, we would be in a very different place, if that theory is true. I feel like I'm yeah. I know. It's a huge ego. It's a huge ego boost, right? Or a buster. It's a huge ego buster to us humans, right? But we're the superior ones, right? And then we argue about which group of humans is the most superior of the humans. It's the boys. It's the girls. It's the tall ones. It's the short ones, right? It's not enough that we're number one, then we get to fight amongst each other. No, it's humans that live in this country, right? Okay, China being in civil war. Economics. It's the money. Money, jobs. Oh, they're having an economic downturn. Loss of jobs, unemployment issues, economy. Look at that. It was the money. People felt strapped. People feel that China is making deals with other countries that are not good for the people of China, like strapped due to alliances. There's something about the alliances of China strapping the people of China. Does anybody? I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what they're talking about. Does anybody know anything about why China's... Oh, maybe because they're becoming closer to Russia and hostile to the U.S., and the U.S. was supplying jobs. Because this is being strapped economically, jobs, because of alliances, outward alliances. They broke alliances with the United States. Look at that, lost jobs. It's about the jobs. You know, we're pulling our jobs. These are good people. They just want to work. They're not responsible for the fact that Xi has become a dictator. So they've lost their work. Damn it. Look at this. Look at this. The work. That's what happened. So the American factories began to shut down. Remember what I had said, that the federal government was going to go in, and if they see if we see U.S. businesses doing business in China where civil rights policies are being violated, those companies will be heavily sanctioned by the U.S. And so what's happened is that businesses are being shut down under Biden's administration. He wants them out of China. And so, oh God, see, this is the kind of place I hate for you to send me. So they're shutting the doors. They shut the factories. The doors were shut. people could not retrieve their things. So it also, in some cases, people couldn't retrieve their computers, their things, their purses. The Chinese army came into some places and shut them down. Also, the Chinese government is saying that they are shutting down American businesses that have been accused of spying and stealing intellectual resources. Fudge. Man, it's bad. This is bad, you guys. Oh, man. More tragedy for the people of China leads to civil war. Civil war. Fighting the land. How do you feel about that? You guys want to talk about it? I don't know. I mean, I feel terrible. I feel terrible for these people. Like they haven't had life be hard enough to have their government shutting down U.S. businesses. I don't know. People being forced out. I think it's terrible. Loss of the worker. You know, it goes back to it's happening all over the world. The workers are getting messed up. I mean, I understand this is more she. She wants certain businesses shut down that he feels have policies that are hostile to China. Good, get the heck out. Boom, shutter their doors, like what happened with Apple having problems, right? So, what we saw in that remote, which don't you feel horrible, Wendy? I mean, what we see in that remote is we get a glimpse of what it's like for them and why. Oh, it's just Ten of Swords is a difficult card. Seven of Wands is to fight and to defend yourself against multiple attacks when you feel that your land or your place, again, always think of Wands as territory. So when your territory has been encroached on. And Eight of Swords is to be wrapped in red tape. So you often feel that the government is out to get you, the IRS, when you get Eight of Swords. So they're strapped. I mean, every way a person can be strapped. And so that's why it leads to the dark web. And from the dark web, organized revolution coming out of Hong Kong and parts of China. That's what I see. And China is free to do what they want with the information. And the people that want to join the revolution are free to join it. I mean, my job is just to deliver the information and let people know that there are servers on the dark web where people are talking about this. And, you know, the Chinese government, other governments are aware of it. But that's why. Revolution. You know, it's, yeah. Cheers. Yeah, it is rough. All right. Yeah, Apple and Tesla possibly forced out. But I do want, while we're here, to take a little bit of a look at the economy here in the United States, because before we go, we'll be going pretty soon, but people had asked me about shifts in the economy because a lot of major companies are getting in trouble. We're seeing some strange things going on with Tesla. We're seeing some strange things going on with a lot of the big players. We're seeing a lot of strange things going on with banking, with real estate. The market was strong today, right? Let's take a look. Let's just look at for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, those cards for Chinese workers were terrible. Our government is very, very proactive, making sure we don't have a crash. And they downgraded us, I know, because China was enmeshed in the banks, in the real estate, and they were raising interest to try and get the Chinese hold to kind of break that. That resulted in a couple of banks with Chinese investors out of San Francisco collapsing, for example. But you see the Fed's strong here. You know, you've got that nice magician card coming in, and you've got that emperor, which is like the power of leadership. You know, leadership is strong. Those are both major arcana cards. Be patient, another major arcana card, and be balanced in your dealings. People are going to prison. This is something I see over and over and over again. Corrupt prison, jail, for those people who are responsible. There's much fighting. I saw also fighting in Congress. Things are moving very slowly. We are coming out of a romantic period. That's interesting. And headed towards the time of reason. So in plainer words, what they're saying is that in a way it was dangerously romantic. People just believed whatever they wanted to believe. Well, you shouldn't believe this because, well, I'll give you an example. If somebody who's an evangelical says, well, you're not a boy because you're a girl and you have false beliefs, but I believe in, Jesus and blah, blah, blah. And all of that sounds completely irrational to an atheist. So, yes, but I believe it, right? So, but it's not as strong as an identity as, say, gender. So you have also a battle of identity, right? Well, I identify as a Christian and you're threatening me as a Christian. Well, I identify as transgender. So everybody is fighting for a piece to have their identity acknowledged. That's basically how it's interpreted. So the problem with the Romantic era is that it was based on emotionalism. But I feel it. I feel you should love me, or I feel this way. And so that's beautiful. It's very romantic and it's very positive, but it has to be tempered also by the sciences. So you want to have the creative and you want to have the emotional, but you also have to have the sciences, which is the Hermit card. Ace of Wands, new business. New business is coming up 23-24. Thieves, criminals trying to escape. I see that over and over again. Thieves, criminals trying to escape. Prison. Look at this. Addiction and drugs remain a problem in the U.S. The karmic wheel of the U.S. is turning. I see serious drug problems remain for the coming months. This is a major problem. People don't know where to turn, and so they often will turn towards drink, drugs, and alcohol during difficult times. These are all drug and alcohol cards. You can see here temperance, but also the moon card, which can be lunacy. It can also be psychic ability, right? It can be the moon or being connected with the moon, which is female energy. But you have this energy coming in the next couple of months over the economy where the bad parts are the addiction. Like I said, these are all cards associated with addiction and needing sobriety, or watch any kind of temptations. With me right now, it is Haagen-Dazs, vanilla, Swiss vanilla. I buy a quart. I think I'm pretty good. It takes me 3 days, 4 days. That's pretty good, right? It's just a summer thing. Winter comes and then I don't want it. And it's right now, like tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah evening, right? So I think like after Rosh Hashanah, I kind of think we're this is the time of Indian summer, right? I always get a cough and, a lot of fall, a lot of weird stuff in the air. But you can really feel the color in Chinese medicine is yellow for Indian summer. Yes, and it's a time where we see a lot of activity in the lung and in the intestines. So people will often get viruses, that sort of thing. It's very interesting, looking at the cards for America in the coming months because uh, our government is strong and we're entering into this intellectual time, but we are also being called to watch our sobriety and not to engage in actions of self abuse, like drinking too much, eating too much, beating ourselves up, hurting, engaging in any activities which are self destructive at this time. That is the best thing that we can do for ourselves and for our country right now. That's basically what they're saying, is keep ourselves together. Yeah. Well, did you have a good time hanging with me, my little children, my naughty little minxes, you? Well, that's why I put half sencha um, tea, the iced tea I made, so that I would not have as much sugar. That way I can reduce the sugar from the. It's too sweet. It's too thick and too sweet and syrupy. So I like to put it in, but I like it to be with the sencha tea. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you all for joining me. I'll be back next week with dear beloved Chuck. Make sure to check out our amazing book for the Book of the Month Club. Is everybody liking our book? Stumbling Toward Grace by Rosalia Scalia. That is our book of the month. You can get it. Where all fine books. I got mine on Amazon, I believe. Or no, I got mine. Actually, it was gifted to me. Thank you, Rosalia. Yes. Other people have sent books as well and gifts. I'm sorry that I haven't gotten back to you. I was busy. I was also out with a cold for a couple weeks, but I do see your lovely gifts and your books. We have selected all of the books for 2023. However, we will be selecting new books for 2024. I believe right before Christmas, we'll be probably announcing those. Also, if you still want to join us for heart-centered remote viewing at the Elders and Empaths level, we would love to see you on Wednesdays. I think that's all of the announcements I have to make. Please check out all of our merch and our other cool stuff if you want to support the channel. Stay out of trouble, children. So that we will see you next time. I'm out of here. I'm off to play my violin. Be well, everyone.